Silent Hill 2 Remake has started showing up out in the wild, so this is me telling you to stay clear of spoilers if you don't want them. But if you want to know a little bit more about this game, perhaps this is your first Silent Hill game or your first time playing Silent Hill 2, today I have some great tips and tricks and some great things that you should know before you start playing the game. Let's start by saying that you don't have to have played the original game, but it would certainly enhance your experience if you did play the original Silent Hill 2. Despite being called Silent Hill 2, the game is not a sequel to the original game, but it does take place in the same universe, the same town of Silent Hill. It just takes place in a different part of the town. Needless to say, you don't have to have played the original Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation 1, but something tells me there will be some references to the original game. Another thing that you need to know is that this game features a lot of endings. Most of these endings can only be acquired after you finish the first playthrough. So don't worry too much about what you do on your first playthrough. Pretty much just enjoy the game as much as you can. In the playthrough 2, you will unlock the ability to unlock a handful of endings, including the dog ending that you probably heard of. The story and setting of Silent Hill 2 can be slightly confusing at first, but don't let this push you away from enjoying the game. As opposed to the first game, where the monsters and environments were a real manifestation and everybody could see what was happening, this time the town draws upon the psyche of its visitors, ultimately forms alternative versions of itself, which differs depending on the character. Thus, Silent Hill 2 acts as a more of an internal representation of a person's guilt or demons. The original concept of the town was a rural town in America. To sort of separate the player from reality, some of the buildings actually lack a lot of furnishing, so don't be surprised if you walk into a room and it's completely empty. So all of this is part of its storytelling. Another thing that you need to absolutely know is that this is not a Resident Evil remake. Sure, it might share some similarities with the remakes, but it is absolutely not the same game. It is a survival horror game, for sure. So you have to conserve your ammo and be very smart with your combat decisions. Speaking of combat, you don't have to absolutely fight everything you see in this game. You can actually conserve ammo also by using melee weapons and stomping on lesser enemies. Some battles actually require you to not deal any damage. A brand new feature of the Silent Hill 2 remake is the new dodge that James can perform upon fighting some enemies. You can also break windows and other things like that, so the game absolutely doesn't play like the original game, but it still feels familiar. It is a faithful representation and remake of the classic survival horror experience that Silent Hill 2 was. New puzzles and reworked puzzles have been added to the game. So if you're a veteran of the original Silent Hill 2, you might find some surprises here and there when it comes to puzzles. I personally have enjoyed everything that I've seen so far in terms of puzzles. Nothing has been too difficult and nothing has been too easy. Some of the iconic moments from the original game have been also reworked, but they're still there. So you might be familiar with certain situations. Whether they happen the same way or not, that's up to you to discover. Anyway, that is all I can share with you for now. Please look forward to more gameplay. My first playthrough, my first impressions will be going up on my channel. And of course, I will be streaming this game as well. So please leave a like, subscribe with notifications to stay up to date with guides, more news and gameplay playthroughs for Silent Hill 2 and more games. Take care, and I'll see you next time.